Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. The Daily Compliance News for February 5, 2022, the Serpico Honored Edition. And we begin with that story as a day late and a dollar short, according to The Hill, the New York PD is going to honor Frank Serpico some 50 years after he blew the whistle on departmental corruption. For those of us of a certain age who read the Peter Moss book or saw the Al Pacino movie, you'll never forget Frank Serpico, but he was officially recognized or formally recognized for his service as an undercover detective and a whistleblower by the New York Police Department. So if you have never read the Frank Serpico book, go find it at a used bookstore. Once again, Serpico by Peter Moss, M-A-A-S. It was a great read. If you don't want to read the book, check out the movie. He was really a true trailblazer. Next up from the Wall Street Journal, disgraced lawyer Michael Avanetti, former attorney for Stormy Daniels, was found guilty of stealing from her of nearly $300,000. The Manhattan federal jury found him guilty of wire fraud and aggravated theft. Whether she ever collects anything, of course, is another question, but Stormy Daniels is successful in her suit against her former lawyer. Next up from Reuters, Nigeria says it has recovered at least $750 million linked to corruption. The Financial Crimes Agency has recovered that amount in local and foreign currency, it reported to the Minister of Information. Africa's biggest economy and energy producer, Nigeria has struggled for decades with endemic corruption among the political elite. This is certainly good news for the international fight against bribery and corruption in general, and in Nigeria specifically. It also shows that if Nigeria can turn things around, well, probably pretty much anybody else can turn things around as well. So kudos to Nigeria and their Financial Crimes Authority, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, or the EFCC. And our final story is a continuing story on the Washington football team, formerly named the Washington football team, now the Commodores. Congress has asked multiple times for the NFL to release the written report on the Redskins for sexual harassment. Commissioner Roger Goodell previously contended the league could not do so because it was an oral report. Well, it turns out that it wasn't an oral report, it was a written report. But guess who has final authority on whether it's released? It's Dan Snyder, owner of the team formerly known as the Washington football team. So if that ain't one conflict of interest, I don't know what is. Certainly, Snyder will do everything he can to deny justice to those aggrieved. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.